3 days before payday, you open your banking app, not because you want to, because you have to. The number is what you expected, and somehow it still hits the same way every time. $47. That's what's left. After the rent, after the car payment, after the groceries, after the electricity bill you split across 2 payments because the full amount wasn't possible this month. You've been working for 20 years. You make more money than you've ever made in your life, and you have $47 until Friday. This isn't a crisis. That's the worst part. This is just Tuesday. This is just how it works. This is just your life. And the terrifying thing, the thing you don't say out loud, is that you have no idea how it got here or how to make it stop. It started the way it always starts. You were 22, first real paycheck. You held it and thought, finally. You weren't naive. You knew money didn't grow on trees. You'd watched your parents struggle enough to know that much. But you had a plan. A rough one, but a plan. Work hard, pay your bills, save a little when you can, build something. And for the first few months, it almost worked. You paid your rent, you covered your bills, you even put a little aside. Not much, but something. And then life started happening. Slowly at first, then all at once. And the little you were saving got used for something else, then something else, then something else after that. And the months where you saved became fewer and further apart until they stopped altogether. And you told yourself, I'll get back to it when things settle down, when I get the next raise, when the car is paid off, when the kids are older, when things are just a little less tight. 20 years went by, and things never got less tight. They just got more expensive. Here is what the paycheck to paycheck cycle actually looks like. Not the dramatic version. Not the version where someone is reckless or irresponsible. The real version. The quiet version. The version most people live. Your paycheck arrives. Your rent or mortgage takes its cut immediately. Car payment follows. Insurance. Car, health, sometimes life. Utilities. Phone. Internet. Groceries. The subscription you forgot about. The minimum payment on the credit card. The other minimum payment on the other credit card. By the time the dust settles, what's left is not enough to change anything, not enough to save, not enough to invest, not enough to build any kind of cushion, just enough to get to the next paycheck. And then the next paycheck comes, and the same thing happens again. The cycle is not dramatic. It doesn't feel like failure. It feels like math. It feels like responsibility. It feels like you are doing exactly what an adult is supposed to do. Pay your bills, show up, keep going. And you are doing those things, all of them, every single month. But you are also stuck in a loop that has no natural exit. Because here is what nobody explains about the paycheck to paycheck cycle. It doesn't fix itself. It doesn't get better on its own. Time does not solve it. Raises do not solve it. You can earn more money and still be paycheck to paycheck. That's the thing that doesn't make sense until you've lived it. And then it makes complete and terrible sense. You got raises. Over 20 years you got several. Some small, some meaningful. A few promotions along the way. Your income today is significantly higher than what it was when you started. And yet, here you are, $47, 3 days before payday. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it is the silent engine that keeps the paycheck to paycheck cycle running no matter how much your income grows. Every time you earned a little more, your life expanded to fill it. The apartment got a little nicer, the car got a little newer, the restaurants got a little better, the kids needed more things. None of it felt like excess. None of it felt irresponsible. It all felt earned, and it was earned. But earned and sustainable are two different things, because every upgrade to your lifestyle is a permanent increase to your baseline expenses. And your baseline expenses are the walls of your cage. The higher they go, the more income you need just to stay in the same place. So when the raise came, you were already spending it, before it arrived, before it cleared, before you even saw it in your account. The raise didn't free you, it just made the cage bigger. The thing about living paycheck to paycheck is not just the stress of the regular months. It's what happens when something goes wrong. And something always goes wrong. The car breaks down at the worst possible time. The medical bill arrives that you didn't plan for. The roof starts leaking. The appliance dies. The kid needs glasses. The dog gets sick. For most people, these are inconveniences. For someone living paycheck to paycheck, these are emergencies, real ones. The kind that send you to the credit card because there is nowhere else to go. The kind that set you back 3 months when you were already behind. And the credit card, the one you used to cover the emergency, doesn't just cost you the amount of the emergency. It costs you that amount plus 22% interest compounding every month on a balance you cannot fully pay off because you are already paycheck to paycheck. So one car repair at $1,400 becomes 2 years of minimum payments. And during those 2 years, the emergency is technically handled, but you are now carrying a new fixed expense every single month, which makes the paycheck even tighter, which means the next emergency hits even harder. This is not bad luck. This is a predictable mathematical spiral, and it is very, very hard to climb out of once you are inside it. Nobody talks about what it does to you. Not the money part, the other part. The mental load of living paycheck to paycheck is not a small thing. It is a permanent, low-grade anxiety that lives in the back of your mind every single day. When your phone buzzes, you flinch because it might be the bank or a bill you forgot. When you're invited to something, a wedding, a birthday dinner, a weekend trip, your first thought is not whether you want to go, it's whether you can afford to go, and how to explain if you can't. When the car makes a noise, a new noise, a strange noise, your stomach drops. Not because of the noise, because of what it might cost. When your kid asks for something small, something ordinary, something every other kid in their class has, you do the math in your head before you answer. This is the invisible tax of paycheck to paycheck. It doesn't show up in your bank statement, but it shows up everywhere else. In your sleep, in your relationships, in your ability to be present, in your ability to enjoy the things you've worked for. The financial stress doesn't stay in the finances. It bleeds into everything, and over 20 years, it accumulates into a kind of exhaustion that is very hard to explain to someone who has never felt it. At some point, for most people, there is a moment, a conversation, a number that finally lands differently, a quiet night where you actually sit down and write out every single number, income, expenses, debt, everything. And you see it, the full picture, all at once, for the first time. Most people have never done this, not properly, not all the numbers in one place, because looking at it is terrifying. And as long as you don't look directly at it, you can tell yourself it's probably fine, probably manageable, probably going to sort itself out. But when you write it all down, the income on one side and every single expense and debt on the other, and you look at what's left, you understand. Not just that you're paycheck to paycheck, but why, and how long it's been this way, and how long it will stay this way if nothing changes. That moment is not comfortable, but it is the most important moment in your financial life because you cannot fix something you refuse to see. And most people go their entire lives never sitting down long enough to see it. Before we talk about what actually works, let's talk about what doesn't. Willpower. The advice you've probably heard 100 times. Stop buying coffee, cut the subscriptions, stop eating out, just spend less. And look, those things aren't wrong. Small expenses do add up, but they are not why you are paycheck to paycheck. If you are spending $150 a month on things you could theoretically cut, and your income falls $1,200 short of what your life actually costs, cutting the coffee doesn't solve the problem. It delays the reckoning by 1 tank of gas. The paycheck to paycheck cycle is not a discipline problem. It is a structural problem. Your structure, your fixed expenses, your debt obligations, your lifestyle baseline is built to consume everything you earn. Cutting a latte here and there doesn't restructure anything. What restructures it is changing the order of operations. And that is a completely different approach to money than most people have ever been taught. Here is the approach that actually works. It is simple. It is not easy, but it is simple. You change the order. Right now, your order looks like this. Paycheck arrives, bills get paid, life happens. Whatever is left, you try to save. Nothing is left, repeat. The new order looks like this. Paycheck arrives, savings move first, automatically, before anything else. Then bills get paid, then life happens with what remains. This is called paying yourself first. And it sounds obvious, but almost nobody does it, because almost everybody is waiting to save what's left, and what's left is always zero. If you move 5% of your income automatically the moment your paycheck lands, before you see it, before you spend it, 2 things happen. 1, the money actually moves. It doesn't get spent on something else because it never touches your hands. 2, you adjust. Within 60 to 90 days, most people completely adapt to living on the smaller amount. You don't notice the 5%, but your savings account does. Start with 5%. After 3 months, move it to 7%. After 3 more months, move it to 10%. Not all at once, slowly, in increments small enough that you barely feel each one. Until one day you look at your account, not with dread, but with something you haven't felt in 20 years. Something that feels like breathing room. The savings alone won't fix it if the debt is bleeding you out. Here is the simplest debt strategy that actually works. List every debt you have, every single one, with the balance and the interest rate. Then attack them in order of interest rate, highest rate first. Pay the minimums on everything else, but throw every extra dollar you have at the highest rate debt. When that one is gone, take everything you were paying on it and add it to the next one. Your payments stay the same, but the debt disappears faster each time, because each cleared balance frees up more money to attack the next one. This is called the debt avalanche, and it is the most mathematically efficient way to get out. It requires patience. The first few months feel like nothing is changing, but 6 months in, something shifts. A balance hits zero, and that first zero feels completely different from all the months before it, because for the first time, the cycle has a crack in it. Before the investing, before the debt avalanche, before anything else, one thing, $1,000. That is your first goal. $1,000 in a separate account that you do not touch for anything except a genuine emergency. Not a sale, not a vacation, not a want. A real emergency. Because here is what $1,000 does to the paycheck to paycheck cycle. The next time the car breaks down, you pay for it with cash from the emergency fund. You don't go to the credit card. You don't add to the spiral. You handle it. You replenish the fund. You move on. That is a fundamentally different experience than what you've been living. That is the difference between an emergency being a setback and an emergency being a catastrophe. $1,000 won't cover everything. It won't solve every problem. But it breaks the automatic reflex of reaching for the credit card the moment anything goes wrong. And breaking that reflex is the beginning of everything else. Save $1,000 first, then attack the debt. Then build the emergency fund to 3 months of expenses. Then invest. In that order, every time, no exceptions. You're going to open your banking app again. You always do. 3 days before payday, just to see, just to brace. But the number you're working toward, the version of this moment that is possible on the other side of these changes, is not a dramatic number. It's not $1 million. It's not financial freedom yet. It's just not $47. It's $400, then $800, then $1,200. Enough that when the phone buzzes, you don't flinch. Enough that when something breaks, you handle it. Enough that you stop doing math in your head every time someone invites you somewhere. That is what you're working toward. Not perfection, just breathing room. The paycheck to paycheck cycle is not a life sentence, but it does not break on its own. It breaks because you decide, on one specific Tuesday, that the next 20 years are going to look different from the last. You start with $1,000, automatic, separate, untouched. And you start this week, not next month, not after the next raise, this week, with whatever amount you can move today. Subscribe to Plain Money Man. Next week, we talk about the biggest money mistake. Same character, plain truth, no fluff. See you then.